Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All righty, folks. Welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We are bellying up to the bar today with someone who thinks he's glorious in his own image, stares in the mirror and says great things about himself.
Just talking to my wife again.
Just ask him, he'll tell you himself. He's got his own podcast. It does all right. It's not as entertaining as this one.
Well, it's going to be like that, is it?
Oh, it's going to be like it. So I told everyone we'll get into this in a minute. So we've got Mr. Donnie Boivin, who is the head, and I'll let Kevin know. You said you were in charge of it all. The Success Champions Network, the Growth Mode podcast. He's got another podcast that's getting ready to. Has the other one launched yet, or is it getting ready?
That one's been out for a while. The actual Success Champion's been out for a number of years.
So we've got another podcast. For those of us that are into the podcasting, he does a couple more episodes than me on a download, like 25,000 an episode, a couple more than I do. I'm not buying it, though. I think it's all bots. That's what I'm telling everybody. But we have a good friend.
We're really, really doing well in Kenya right now. So
I saw that. I don't understand that at all. It's so amazing. He's big. I used to tell people all the time I was big in Kenya. Like Kenya has his loves podcast. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm blown away. I was
big in Kenya. Really, but we have Mr. Donnie Boivin here joining us. He's bellying up to the bar with us tonight. Oh, wait, wrong button. He's the only guy I know that actually has that sound effect in his pocket when he walks into rooms, so that he walks in, he's like, "Can I get an espresso?" Donnie, welcome to the bar, brother.
Dude, I totally forgot to line up the ba-dum bump for you because I feel like I'm gonna need that a lot.
Oh, okay, I got it right here.
There you go.
We got it all
Thanks,
set,
brother.
But
Dude,
Donnie's
I'm
another.
Stoked to hang out with you, man.
Donnie and I met a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We met through Mike Latuna, who's been on the show for the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Who, if you don't know it, folks, is officially in the Times Union Center here in Albany. Mike was a big part of that. And I was introduced to Donnie, and we hit it off. We hit it off like Marines hit it off right away, most of us.
Right. I'm pretty sure we call each other an asshole in the first few minutes. So
yeah, that was definitely some form of asshole and what color crayon do you eat?
Right.
Brought up. And I was like, and I don't know. And this always comes up. And we're going to get into house cleaning here in a minute, folks, but what years were you in?
95 to 99.
Okay, so my first year was 94. That crayon shit wasn't a thing.
No, dude, that shit came out. I literally Googled that shit. I was like, what the hell is this crayon on? And you can't find a definitive answer on it.
No. Well, what kind of answers have you found at all?
What was the one is that you're so dumb that you would eat a box of crayons. That you are never made it out of the elementary, so you never learned how to write with anything more than a crayon. Or some of the ones I've seen throw out there.
I'm loving them all.
I'm okay being the knuckle dragger idiot because I wasn't a freaking idiot when I went in. I mean, I was blue collar, freaking born poor as shit. I had no direction in life. I had to do something because
it was a requirement for folks like us. But we're going to get ready to get into it. We're going to be talking about networking and not being an asshole, which is Donnie's entire thing, which I love it. And it's a weird thing because I think so many of us think just by asking for somebody to join their network or talking to someone, you think you're an asshole. That's not a thing. It's a whole conversation. But before we get into that, and if you like our podcast, Donnie helped me. I'm going to quote right now before I even get into the house cleaning. Because of Donnie, I went back and I renamed. At that point, I had like 65 or 70 episodes. I renamed every single episode. And we're going to get into why that was important. That's something Donnie did for me, why I did that. So we're going to get into that also.
I want to know the results of it too. I want to know what its effect.
I will tell you, because I don't know the exact numbers, but I will tell you, I definitely seen an improvement. So as always, folks, right over my right shoulder, for those of you that are watching us live and for those of you that are listening to the audio, we have our board for Sticker and a Cause. If you believe in something, I don't care what it is, you've got your own podcast, you've got an organization that you're supporting locally, Kids Little League, I don't care what it is. Reach out to me. I can be found. Our social medias are Facebook, The Above the Bar Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at The Above the Bar Podcast. Our Twitch is The Above the Bar Podcast. Our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. The only one that's goofy, the only one is our Twitter, which is at Above the Bar 4, because I couldn't get The Above the Bar Podcast on Twitter for whatever the reason is. So we're at Above the Bar 4 on Twitter. You can reach out to me on any of those social media sites. Let me know what your cause is. I'll give you an address to send it to. Send it out to me. I'll read it live on the air for everyone to hear. So Sticker and a Cause, it's here for everybody. Our next thing is you saw all of our posts this week. If you're following us on Instagram, if you're not, you need to fix yourself. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Everywhere. You saw all those great posts. If your media needs a bigger network, make sure you reach out to Media by Dibs. They can do your flyers. They can do your social media posts. Anything you need, video openings. Our opening, he fixed our opening for us a little while back when we had new music. So reach out to Media by Dibs on Twitter, Instagram. It's all Media by Dibs. And if you mention Belly Up to the Bar, you're going to get a 10% discount and a free consultation the first time around. Media by Dibs. Now let's get into this, brother. So
let's do it.
We're going to get into this, folks. First thing that Donnie did for me, and we'll say it. So I used to think that if you have a podcast out there, we all think, because we watch these other guys that are doing, all these ads and they're doing all these amazing things and they're getting all this stuff. Remember, most of them probably have backing in some way, shape, or form that most of us will not have. So you're relying on algorithms. And I thought I had these really cool names that if you listen to the show, you would be like, oh, I need to know what that means. Donnie said, stop. Name that shit something that somebody's going to Google. How to run a podcast. Marines. What does it mean to do this? How do you do that? How do you make this? Things that people are going to go onto YouTube because they search their Facebook or search their podcast the same way. Think about what last time you looked up a podcast. It should be the Above the Bar Podcast. And as I always say, make sure you grab your phone, your friends' phones, and everyone you know, and go ahead and just put my shit on their phone so that it downloads for everyone. It's the only way it's going to get bigger.
Yep.
But Donnie said to change your name. And I will tell you, Donnie, as soon as I did that, I think if I had a show that had 5 or 10 downloads, it now has got 10 or 20 downloads.
Yeah, it's massive. It's because you got to think that podcasting as a whole, and we can go down the rabbit hole of podcasting for a while, Jesus Christ, but podcasting as a whole is a how-to platform. Like, I told you I'm really getting in the NFT space right now and figuring that shit out. And so I went to Google Podcast. I typed in NFTs, and there's 2 podcasts that instantly popped up. One is the Edge of NFTs and NFT for Newbies. So I listened to them both great content. But the funny fucking thing about NFT for Newbies is I'm in the second episode. I'm like, God, that dude's voice sounds familiar. And then I realized it's my fucking buddy, Rich Cardona, who's a retired gunny out of the fucking Marine Corps.
Hold on. Rich Cardona?
Yeah.
Why do I know?
He's huge on LinkedIn, got a big following out there.
Hold on, Rich Cardona. I think I know Rich Cardona.
But it's his podcast, and I sent him a thing on LinkedIn. I'm like, motherfucker, your podcast kills. And so I'm devouring it because he really breaks down NFTs. I'm not going to go into what NFTs are, but if you're really
tell people what an NFT is if they don't know. At least give them that.
So an NFT is a way to digitally own, like if you did a piece of artwork. So if you own a piece, you're trying to sell art. It's a way to sell it online and an alternative method to selling it versus selling it out of a shop or something along those lines. And there's some cool ways to make money from it. But if they really want to know, go listen to NFT for NFT for Beginners Rich Cardona and Heather Parody, who's another great gal. And they'll take you through. And it's so funny because they're such newbies at it as they're building it out. They're fucking things up. I mean, the Ethereum, which is one of the big coins. I mean, she's like 3 episodes in and she's like, Ethereum. And she's not even good. And Rich is like, you realize it's Ethereum, right? And she's like, really? So it's such done by beginners and newbies. And they break things down just fucking Big Bird style. But my point of all that is podcast is a how-to platform. So when people are looking for content, so we're working on trying to figure out how we NFT our books coming up. So I'm doing a lot of research, and so just like YouTube, people go to podcast land and they type in how do I X, and somebody's done a podcast on it. It's a pretty fascinating thing to wrap your head around. But, most people start a podcast because they think that's going to be the thing that, sits into the stratosphere because they got something to say, and they don't realize that they're fucking nobody, and they better be playing a really long fucking game when it comes to, podcasting.
Well, this is episode 90 or 91. So I've been doing this since June of last year. I have, and look, folks, I will bust Donnie Stones all day long, have no doubt about it. But he's doing 25,000 downloads an episode. I'm doing 2,500 total. and I'm proud of this, and I'm always going to be proud of it because that means 2,500 times somebody said, I want to hear Murph talk. I want to hear him run his face. And I find it interesting, but podcasting, and I want to kind of combine the two, in the name of this episode, I said, how to podcast, how to be successful at it. The first thing I'm going to tell you, the secret, and I'll see if Donnie agrees with me or not, is don't expect to be successful anytime soon.
I agree with that. There's other things I think are more important, but I agree with that.
I always feel like if you think that way, and I did it, I've talked about this. I think I talked about it with Brian Merrill, who was on last week, another service member, another successful small business person. And I don't believe any business is small. If it's paying my bills, that bitch ain't small.
Right.
But keep in mind, him and I talked about it. One of the first things I thought, I reached out to somebody who I knew had a successful business. And I said, hey, you want to sponsor me? And he was very kind to me. He could have just been like, I'm going to ignore you. But he was very kind to me. And he said, come talk to me when you do 1,000 in 6 months. If you're doing 1,000 downloads an episode.
Smart guy.
And he was kind to me and he explained it to me. Folks, I do about 20 to 30 if I'm on a good week. This is a big, long game. So, but part of it, I have an amazing network. And that's what Donnie has come up with. And I want him to talk about what he means when he says that how to network without being an asshole. And it really kind of resonates with me because in my line of work, my day work, networking is everything in my world, whether I'm doing my day job, whether it's podcasting. And I say to somebody, and I've said it to Donnie, hey, if you know somebody that you think will be a good guest on my show, let me know. Introduce me. That's networking.
Oh, don't worry. I'm throwing Kevin at you next.
Well, I've already got Kevin lined up. I've got Kevin lined up, and then I've got one lined up with you and Kevin.
Oh, shit. Look at this go.
You didn't realize that, right?
I do now.
God, he sent you a message.
Fuck, dude. If you saw how many freaking conversations and shit that I have going on a regular basis, this is why if it's not on my calendar,
don't exist.
Dude, literally tonight, another guy said, hey, are you ready for our interview at 7:00 tonight? I'm like, yeah, no. He's like, what do you mean no? I'm like, fucker, that's not on my calendar. He's like, we've been scheduled for a couple weeks. I'm like, you never sent me a calendar invite to set that thing up. I said, so we're going to have to figure it out. So we reschedule it for February. But, here's a funny thing is I've sold hundreds of millions of dollars over the years, from HVAC franchises to commercial printing. And my last career was with an organization called Sandler Training, which is a sales training organization. And, sales is a bitch. right? I mean, it's a grind. It's brutal. You've literally got to not give a shit what people think about you. I mean, you got to turn off the noise, and you got to put food on the table, right? So I grew up in the cold call world, and I literally one day while selling commercial printing, I'm like, fuck, man, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And, there's got to be something else that will work. And that's when I found networking. And I tried a lot of your traditional networking type groups, your chambers, your rotaries, the BNIs, all those things. And I was selling commercial printing where my average sale was, 50 to $250,000. And, these little bitty places weren't going to fucking get me there, So I quickly, back in the day, started forming my groups of people that were going after the same size of business and everything. And admittedly, when I first started out, I'm like, I'm bringing people to the groups and these motherfuckers better bring me business. And so I literally looked at all these people and saw them almost like they had a target on their chest. What are you drinking, by the way?
This is Widow Jane 10-year bourbon.
Widow Jane.
So,
Nice.
so I'm, and talk about networking. I actually now have a person, who all she does is a PR person that represents small batch distilleries.
Oh, no shit.
In my network, who you remember Kathy? You mentioned Kathy? Introduced her to Kathy because all these small batch folks need help.
Yeah.
But this one is actually made. We talked about it last week. It's made in American oak barrels, pure limestone mineral water from legendary Rosendale mines of New York.
So if you're a small batch liquor company and you happen to listen to this, you want an easy fucking plug, send this motherfucker a bottle.
Oh, all day long. All day long.
I just don't understand how people aren't using guerrilla marketing. And we'll go back to networking, but
yeah,
guerrilla marketing at their finest. Find a podcaster who's doing a live podcast that likes to fucking drink. Send him a goddamn bottle and watch the shout out.
All day.
It's funny things like that people should be doing. What is that one?
Pick 6 vodka, which is a Saratoga-based Pick 6 Saratoga Racing. I always talk about them. If somebody says to me, that's a perfect example. That's networking. Yep. If somebody says to me like, hey, I'm looking for a vodka to make, I'm like, oh, you got to go drink Pick 6. Pick 6, that's the one. I don't know vodkas for fucking anything. But I will tell you right now, they're great human beings.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, go drink their shit.
That's how everything should be done, man. That's how everything should be put together. And, for me, I had to learn some hard lessons in networking. I really thought that by bringing people together that they were going to fill my pipeline for me. And I was sorely mistaken because, when you get around running and gunning people that can actually sell, are running 100 miles an hour. Yeah. They're going beast mode. You look at them as you're going to fill my pipeline. They're going to look at you and say, fuck you. What are you going to do for me?
I'm going to eat your lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had to learn that to become successful in networking, man, you got to be the guy that can get other people to the guy. And
what do you mean by that? Now, hold on for a second before you go too far beyond that. What do you mean by that?
So the best networkers in the world are some of the best salespeople in the world. They know how to go get their own business. They realize that networking is a way to double up on what their activities are. So let's say, what type of companies do you typically do recruiting and stuff for, staffing for?
In industrial manufacturing and warehousing.
Cool, beautiful. Manufacturing's office. So let's say I'm still doing sales training and I go and I sell a manufacturing company and I'm now going to train their entire fucking sales staff. Now, I need to get close to you because you're dealing with manufacturers all over the place, right? And that's a great fit for me. But you're not necessarily going to instantly think of Donnie and introduce me to manufacturing companies. But if I come to you and say, hey, Sean, I just landed a deal with XYZ manufacturing company.
Yes.
They've got 12 sales reps. I'm just crawling in there, but I'm going to get to know the VP of sales. I'm going to get to know the president of the company. Give me a month or two and tell me who's the ideal person for you to meet. And I'm going to get you into that company. And then a couple months later, I come back and go, you ready? Let's go to lunch. Right. And I take you in there. Now, at no point have I ever looked at you and say, Sean, what can you do for me? Right. I am opening the door for you first. I'm literally taking you straight into the decision maker in that company and saying, hey, Mike, let's make up a name. Let me introduce you to my buddy, Sean. Let me tell you, if you ever need personnel, you ever need staff, you ever need recruiting, you ever need somebody in your world, this is the guy. And literally, it's almost mafia style that I just vouched for you.
Right.
Right. Now, Mike, you could have been prospecting and calling on for months and probably not got in there. But now that I've given him results as a client, helping him grow his business, right? And I brought you in, now I've become your fucking champion. So Mike's like, hey, great to meet you, man. Let's set up another conversation. And now you've been introduced to that company.
It's a warm handshake.
Absolutely.
And it's funny you say that because the first thing that came to mind to me, now this is a sales background for me. And I don't normally tell everyone my sales background, but I'm a monster. I don't have a problem admitting it in a world. I will take, if you're not a good salesperson and you're on my team, I will eat my young. I will do everything I can to train you, but I will eat my young. And I don't, because like Donnie said, this is a monster's business.
Yeah.
It really is. And
let me clarify monster. I mean, we're not saying be a jackass.
Not mean.
Well, and I'm not saying try and get one over on somebody.
No.
I'm not trying to say take advantage of somebody, but it takes a unique individual to be able to reach out to somebody who doesn't fucking know you, get punched in the face verbally, and go, well, that was fun. Can we do it again next week?
Yeah, all day. Ray Gagnon. One day I'll have to introduce you to Ray. In a moment here, folks, we're going to make hard lefts, and any form of podcast is going to go out the window, and you're going to listen to two Marines talk about, let me introduce you to this guy and that guy. I got a person for you. Ray Gagnon, we used to call the devil, not because he was a mean, horrible person, but Ray could sell anything to anyone. And I still respect Ray to this day. And I know other Marines that he is pissed off beyond, that wouldn't piss down his throat if his stomach was on fire. But Ray has taught me so many times. He owns one of those J-Dog
junk
removal now, and he has his own sales training. But that's a perfect example of a guy who networking, sales, that I used to watch that guy and just go, fuck, I suck at my job. And I was a recruiter of the year, and I would watch that guy and go, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's actually my goal in when I recruit and when I sell, is to look at somebody and go, you're so damn good. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to learn more.
Yeah.
I need to learn more.
I mean, that's how I learned sales. Was
so you weren't formally trained? Like, I'm formally trained.
No. I mean, I never even knew sales training was a thing. Somebody loves your sweaters, by the way.
It's Dibs, man. Dibs loves the sweater.
That's awesome. Oh, Dibs and bits. I love it. But freaking, on freaking Stitch too, or Twitch. I mean, Switch.
Yeah.
Badass. For me, how I learned sales was this is a fun story. So I was hired out from behind the bar to really get my first big boy freaking sales job, right? And I was hired into a unique situation. Streaming, that's awesome. And freaking, I love reading comments and shit. But when I was hired, I really had no sales manager. I had, Dibs, let's talk, brother. We can talk. Shit, throw your sales questions up, man. We'll answer that shit live right now.
I love it.
Hell yeah.
I have to tell you, finish your story because I want to tell you a story about today.
Sure. So I literally had no training. So she literally gave me a computer and a phone and said, figure it out. So my first sale really ever was to my own mom. And I sold her a set of business cards, and my own mom beat me up on fucking price. She's like, yeah, I'm not paying that. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not? Mom, I need to figure this shit out. She goes, well, here's your first lesson.
Here's your first
I'm
lesson.
not paying that price. And my mom's the sweetest, most kindest, gentle-hearted lady in the world. So
that's how it came to the purse strings.
Yeah. So the first thing that I did to figure out sales is I found the most successful sales guy in the company and said, all right, what the fuck did you do? And he goes, I sold. I'm like, well, that doesn't tell me anything, dude. And he goes, grab a phone book. I'll show you how far ago it was. He goes, start with A and call. When you get somebody to invite you in for an appointment, I'll tell you what to do next. I was like, okay.
Dude, that's real. That's like throw the kid in the pool and I hope you swim old school.
Yeah. And I called my brother who had been in sales for a number of years. I'm like, dude, how do you sell? How do you cold call? What is this? And he's like, well, you call up and you say hello. I'm like, well, I do that. Then what? He goes, ask them if they need printing. I'm like, dude, there's got to be more than that. And he's like, call me back when you try that. I call him up. I'm like, company. I'm like, do you guys need printing? Well, what kind of printing do you do? What? That fucking work? How did that work? So it's been a fun journey to figure this all out. But I did the whole rise to commercial printing in Fort Worth, Texas. I was one of the top known fucking print sales guys out there. There's only one guy in the entire state that outsold me ever. And even then, I had to go from here's Donnie, the blue collar kind of kid, to the slick back hair, over the top clothes, to realize that guy's just a fucking asshole.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes. And getting in the big games and fucking stupid poker nights and stuff. But to come back to the dude who wears, ball cap and t-shirts and just myself and down to earth and sell a hell of a lot more that way.
I don't even hear a goat in the background.
Not right now.
Good.
You might hear my new puppy in a little bit, but
you have to get into the network to know about that. But it's funny to me. So you're trained, trial by fire, as Dib said, baptism by fire. I was, I've always said it. I've said it a million times on this show. My father's the greatest salesman I ever knew. I can list my father's accolades, and it's mind-boggling how good he was. Awesome. And the old man, trips, things that just blow your mind. And I've said it on here a million times what the secret to sales training to sales is. But I'm formally trained. Where you're trial by fire, I went through the Marine Corps had a company called Achieve Global, who I don't even know if they're a company anymore. They were around for like 30 some years doing the Marine Corps.
You were a recruiter, right?
I was a recruiter for the Marine Corps, but we went this formal sales training on, to the point that, I was certified through a private company on train the trainer for sales techniques to be able to sit down with somebody like a Donnie and say, well, let me teach you how to teach someone how to sell. Like I've gotten to that level, the very formal sales training. And I love it. I had a conversation with a guy today in Vermont who was like, hey, I'm trying to get this guy a job. And I taught him, and I don't know if in my world, this is very important. Needs, goals, desires.
Right.
What, why? What is your need behind your need? And we're talking, and I was like, well, tell me about his needs, goals, and desires. And I told him about that a while ago, and he came back to me and said, I did that, but I couldn't get nothing out of him. I said,
that's not an answer.
I said, okay, well, let's talk about it. And we went, and this is what I love about sales training. I said, okay, so you didn't get nothing out of him. Let's role play it. And we went through and we role played it. And it's not that role play, folks. There was no leather. There was no gags. At no point
I guarantee he's got a couple whips sitting behind him, guys.
That's totally different, though. That's self. But we went through it, and I don't know why I love sales training so much. Have you ever thought about that for yourself?
Well,
like why you enjoy it?
So when I got into Sandler, when I interviewed for the position.
And what was Sandler? Hold on.
So Sandler Training is one of the largest sales training organizations in the world. So I didn't get into sales training. I didn't get formally trained in sales until I was 14 years in. Right. So by the time I got to Sandler, I was straight beat the fuck out of, learned how to sell, self-taught all the way through. Nobody taught me anything. Matter of fact, a gentleman did try and teach me sales one time. And as soon as he opened his mouth, I laughed at him because I knew the shit he was trying to teach me would never work in our game ever. It was dumb. He was just such a greaseball.
Dude, let me tell you how to sell that. Like, yes. I got this thing. This thing is going to work for you.
So I got recruited out of printing to go work for a sales training company. And when they brought me in for the interview, I said, look, I got no desire to be a fucking trainer. I said, I just want to be a sales guy. And they're like, good, because we don't need a trainer. Well, 2 years into selling for him, I 4x'd his fucking company. And he looked at me and goes, dude, you can't make any more money. I said, what the fuck you mean I can't make any more money? Look at how much money I fucking made you already. And he goes, I misspoke. He goes, you can't make any more money unless you start training. And I said, dude, I'm not a trainer. I don't want to be a trainer. And he goes, well, I'm at capacity. I can't train any further. I can't add anybody. So you're going to have to start training. I'm like, fuck. So now I became a damn sales trainer and I started training Sandler. And then we 10x the fucking company because now I could, eat what I killed. And, I got to the place where I learned that if I didn't sell, I couldn't train. And I started really enjoying, training. I love training from the aspect of teaching the mindset, the simple things, behind sales. Dibs, 2 seconds. I'm going to give you an answer how to get sponsors. Okay. But the crux of it all, you can't just train everybody. You got to train trainable people. And, a lot of these companies don't have salespeople. They got customer service reps.
Yes. Amen.
And that was a massive struggle. I want to get to Dibs' fucking sponsorship question, but.
And that's a great question, Dibs. And it's funny Donnie's talking about this. So again, I've sold for so long. I love BD better. And if you don't know what BD is, that's business development. I would rather spend my day, and this is probably the sadist side of sales. As Donnie said, I would rather get punched in the face all day long doing BD. And that was a big thing that I learned from Master Guns Ray Gagnon was, if you're not being told no, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm going to let Donnie give you an answer there, Dibs, but it's going to be my answer. If you're not being told no, then you're not asking enough people.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Donnie?
And the question I 100% agree with that. I mean,
trying to get sponsors so to give the background.
It's really stupid simple to get sponsors. And here's how. So the first sponsor I ever got was literally a guest on my show. And when I interviewed her, she had a really cool company, great story, come from, kind of an entrepreneur family. But she built a multi-million-dollar corporation, from nothing. And I was her first podcast she was ever on. So it was really, really cool to be able to tell her story. And me being me, and I didn't know about what sponsorships looked like, really. I didn't know how it all set up. I just knew that people talked about getting sponsors for your show. So I looked at her and said, hey, would you consider sponsoring a podcast? Similar to what you do with that guy. And she goes, well, what does that look like? I said, well, I will, do a live commercial for you every, episode of the show. And we'll talk about you, your company, and see what happens. She goes, well, what would that cost me? And I said, $500 a month. I just pulled a number completely out of my ass. I had no idea. Right. And she goes, okay, let's do that. And then I went, fuck, I should have asked for 1,000. Right. So, and she was a sponsor for many, many years. But the trick with it, Dibs, is really go find your biggest fans of your show. Like the people that are just totally into what you do, and let them know, because a lot of people don't know that they can sponsor podcasts, right? So go teach them that this is an option. And I would start off your first podcast, get your hosting fees taken care of. Like, all my podcasts are on Captivate.fm. And if you're not doing Captivate, you are playing the fucking game wrong. They are a podcast platform that loves podcasters more than any other platform I've been on. I've been on a bunch of them. I've done Libsyn, Simplecast, and now fucking Captivate. It's a hockey team, not a podcast. So, okay, is it like a kids team or?
No, it's a minor league. It's a minor league team.
Oh, badass. All right. So here's the first way you start getting sponsors, man. Cool. Semi-pro. Beautiful. Is you go find companies that have sales teams and the likes. And you walk up and say, hey, I'd love to put your sign up in the back of the stadium. Right? So people can see it every damn time, every week. Here's what we're going to do. Is if you will pay a small fee, I'll give you X amount of tickets to a game, and you make it look like a trade. So small money trade to get the sponsor. You get that first one that will say yes to small money, and I'm talking $100 a month, something stupid small, and get their sign up in the stadium, something, give them, or just tickets to the game. You'll fuck them and announce them at the game. As soon as you get that one that will pay small money, and basically you're just trading them for tickets, okay, to give them the tickets to the game, then you use them as fucking leverage. You start calling up everybody and say, hey, I just got John Smith HVAC Company to sponsor, and this is some of the things we're doing for them. These are some of the options we can do for you. Like, would you like to be on fucking center ice? I'm doing their offering season tickets and spots on social media advertising during the game. I just secured someone for $250 monthly. Fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
now use that as fucking leverage, dude. So call up other people and go, man, let me tell you what we just did for John. And leverage it, because people want to be a part of the cool club. So make the cool club a place for them to freaking hang out. So, and now what I would do is say, hey, why don't you come to a game? And then with this sponsor that's paying you $250 a month, while you're at the game, make a big deal about that sponsor. Like, show that sponsor off. At the announcements, go, hey, just so you guys know, if you look at section XYZ, you'll see XYZ spot. And the other person that you're courting to be your sponsor is like, fuck. For $250, that dude's getting announced, getting talked about. He's meeting the fucking players. All right, let me come play this game. And it's an ego stroke, because you only sponsor a fucking hockey team to stroke your ego. Right? So, so go play to the ego. So go find your wealth management companies. Go find your gunslingers that are hungry, and they'll throw money at you. But you got to wine and dine those guys a little bit.
And think blue collar, Dibs.
Yeah. Yes.
I will tell you, when I think about those kind of things, reach out to your company, your big HVAC company in the area, your heating plumbing company in the area. Those are the guys that, are willing to, they're sports guys. They grew up with sports. So in their mind, sports were that important to them growing up. They remember the WB Mason ads. I've been looking for construction companies and stuff, and companies that love to support being there.
You know what, Dibs? You know what I would 100% do if I were you? I would start a podcast all about your hockey team.
Yeah.
And then I would go fucking interview all these motherfucking people that run businesses that geek out on hockey, and do nothing but talk hockey with your prospects.
That's it.
Because now you're interviewing them, cheap mic setup, you don't need anything fucking fancy. And now you call up these construction companies and you tell everybody you're looking for, CEOs of companies that used to play hockey.
Ooh, I got it.
Go, jump.
So this is what we love to do. So I promise you there is a Pee Wee hockey league in your local area. If they've been on the ice, or you get them to like at halftime to play a Pee Wee hockey game, just a quick game. In that conversation with the hockey coach, find out what the parents do for a living.
Yeah, dude, seriously.
I promise you, if you find out that the parents, because hockey to me is like rugby and soccer in England. If you ever go in England, they talk to you about soccer is a hooligan sport played by rich men, and rugby is a rich man sport played by hooligans.
Yeah.
and hockey is that way in the States. Hockey is a rich man's sport. You go find those parents and start saying, hey, yeah, by the way, bring your kids to a game, and you start sponsoring those kids. Those kids have parents who have money, who have construction companies, who have those businesses.
Well, and imagine if you had a podcast. And stay away from Vetrepreneur Tribe.
Yeah.
That place is a shit show. And the veteran community as a whole in the business side of things, until they find success, just avoid it for the most part.
And we're veterans telling you that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
We're weird. So we look at everyone else who has a business and think you suck.
Yes.
And if you're not instantly doing something for me, you suck. And that's really kind of who we are. And we love each other and we'll do for each other. But if you're not us, fuck you, you suck.
You're exactly right.
I'm not trying to sound like a douche, but that's just how we are.
For sure. But yeah, I love this kid's idea and getting to know their parents, because now let's say you just do, even if it's a fucking Facebook Live, not even a formal podcast. And you're like, look, why don't we come and we'll talk about your company, what you do. We're just going to do it at the rink. So let me give you a behind the scenes fucking tour of the rink and come hang out. We'll do a thing. We'll talk about your company. We'll promote the shit out of your company. And now you get a captive audience that at the end, you're like, what if we could do this more regular? And we put your logo up in the freaking thing, yada, yada, yada. And you get a captive audience. Promoting sports teams, you've got to get fucking full on guerrilla style with this shit. Because people don't always understand, the value of having their logo promoted at each game, getting talked about and whatnot. So you got to get fucking wicked. There's a guy here in Fort Worth, Texas with me, Anthony, that helped start up the what's the Fort Worth soccer team?
Oh,
I forget. But the Fort Worth got a MLB soccer team.
Okay.
And, he helped start it, get all, but this dude started a thing called, my wife must be getting home. You're gonna hear the dogs. But got a thing where it's called, like 100 Men Who Give a Damn or some shit. And he just started this fucking after hours networking thing where he brings 100 dudes in. You pay $100 to come to this thing, and they'll do it at different craft breweries or whatnot. And the $100 goes into a raffle, and 50% of it goes to, 50% goes to one charity, and the other 50% goes to another charity. So
that's fucking amazing.
And so he brings all these people in that can afford to drop $100 to be at an event, highlights a couple of nonprofits, but on the underlying thing, he was telling everybody about the fucking soccer team. And so he was building awareness for the soccer team by bringing all these fucking people together.
Genius.
Right. So this is what I'm talking about. To really do a sports team, you got to get fucking straight up guerrilla with this stuff.
Well, and that's the other thing about it is, I think if I was doing a sports team, me personally, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it is, I want to know what my numbers are average game. And then being able to explain to my client that, hey, look, even if you're a small semi-pro and you're getting 500 people a game, maybe it's 500 people a game. Being able to explain to my client that, hey, look, your logo is going to be in the face of 500 people for X amount of hours, that they're going to see it, they're going to hear it, they're going to understand it. What other form of media or entertainment can you pull that off in? And for the money that you could do this with, that would be my angle. I would take the angle of, let's look at it. If you do a commercial, you may get 100 people, 1,000, 10,000 people for 30 seconds. I'm going to give you 500 people for an hour staring at your logo. Who can do that?
Right.
And then shut the hell up. Dibs, here's the other great secret of sales. Don't
shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. Oh, God, I can't even begin to explain to you how many times I look at people and go, so what do you think about that? And I wait. I love the uncomfortable of the room. Let me ask that question. I got to ask you that question, Donnie. How much do you love the uncomfortable question when you ask it and then don't say shit? How much do you love it?
I love the squirm.
Oh, I love it.
But for me, I love the follow-up to whatever they're fixing to say. Right? Because when you shut up after you ask a question, right? They're going to take a second and then they're going to throw an answer at you, which I love that, right? But for me, whatever they ask, I'm always going to hit them with, really? Why? Oh. And then I'm going to shut up again because that second pause is money.
Oh, I love it. Folks, if you're just joining us, I see we got 5 people watching right now. James Shear, thank you for the love, brother. We're with Donnie Boivin. We have fucking hooked a hard left, and you're into 2 sales guys who are just trying to fucking hard dick each other into a fucking another piece of the puzzle because we love it. This is what we do. I promise you, I'm working with a guy right now. Donnie, if you were still in the game for the copier stuff, I would already have found a job for you where you're going to make $1 million, because I've got an old school sales guy I work with around here. He's in his probably mid-50s who, like, old school, brother. Like, we'll talk after the show. And when I say, like, we're not quite at I talked to somebody the other day. We're not quite madmen, but we ain't far off from it. Who's just like, the whiskey bottle's probably in the desk drawer. The sales gets finished, and we're taking the whole team to Beijing, China.
Right.
That kind of sales guy. So now, kind of keep moving this thing forward. Your whole thing is networking without being an asshole. And Dibs, I'm not cutting you off, brother. I need to get you into SCN. That's Success Champions Network,
sure.
folks. If you really want a network thing, if you've ever done BNI is fine. But BNI, you're going to have 3 guys that sell insurance, 2 guys that do financial planning, a house mom who's selling curtains, and an Avon lady. And you're trying to figure out how you guys are all going to work together. And it's nothing against BNI, but I couldn't do it.
Yep.
I will tell you right now, one of the nice things about SCN, Success Champions Network, is there's one person that does what you do.
Yep.
There's one person that's involved in it. You will, until your chapter gets to 10, you have to fucking look at Donnie. God.
You were waiting this entire episode to play that fucking sound.
Let me go ahead. But but the other side to it is, and I mess with Donnie, but you do have Donnie. You have access to him. You have access to other salespeople. In my group, there are folks in there that I would reach out to in a heartbeat when I have questions for sales, and I know what I'm doing most days.
And Dibs, when we meet later this month, dude, I'm gonna make you cry. That's my goal, to see if I can completely make you cry.
He's a little he's a chubby Marine now, so it makes me hard. But get into and look, I love Success Champions. Next week we have Christine Smith, which I would love. I'm gonna have to introduce you to Christine Smith.
Okay.
Christine Smith in the Albany area is a network ninja.
Oh, I think I actually know her.
Ripple Effects.
Yes, yeah, I know Christine. She's fucking beast. I love Christine.
Dude, she's a ninja. She's
fucking
ninja.
Love her. We have a lot of commonality when it comes to networking and shit. Oh. She's fucking good people.
So tell everybody what you mean, because people are worried about everybody thinks just asking somebody in a networking question makes them an asshole.
Yeah. So
what does that mean?
So here's the thing: is is networking is about opening doors for others. I truly believe that success is found when you can connect one person to the exact person they need to meet. I mean, go back to the earlier scenario. Like if I can get Sean straight into the decision maker of a manufacturing company that would be looking to hire a bunch of people in the next year, Sean's going to fucking love me. But I don't give a shit if he loves me or not. Right? I believe in the universal law that if I do enough good shit in the world, the fucking universe is going to take care of me. I don't need to give to gain bullshit. I literally just want to open fucking doors for other people. And the cool thing about that is when you open doors for others, dude, you are so top of mind for that person. Like I set goals every week to make sure I do X amount of introductions and X amount of referrals. And to give a legit referral is extremely hard to do because it means you got to go find people that are actively looking for the services of another individual. You can make introductions all day long, to people.
That's a great point. Introduction is different than a referral.
For sure. So, I think the number one metric salespeople should be measuring is how many referrals they're giving to other people. How many doors they're opening for other people, because I can tell you how successful you're going to be. I don't give a fuck how badass of a salesperson you are. If you're not opening doors for others, you're doing a transactional game. And if you're playing transactional sales, eventually you're going to get your fucking teeth kicked in because that means you're only working for that deal or maybe potentially the next deal. You're not thinking lifetime value.
Right.
So imagine if you look at your number one fucking client and said, who the fuck do you need to meet? And then you spend your entire fucking week going to find people that would help them in their business. Imagine doing that for your number one client where you go and say, hey, I've got 2 people that are legitimately looking for your services. Dude, that client ain't ever going to leave you.
Right.
No. You're building life. And so for me, the entire philosophy of networking is literally building other people's businesses. And that philosophy is what allowed me to build the foundation for Success Champions Networking. And now 46 chapters across the U.S. getting ready to open up in Canada. But it comes down to, the idea that if you get a bunch of motherfuckers together that understand this concept of opening doors for each other, dude, it goes beast mode. Because now you got real salespeople that are doing tons of conversations every week. You're top of mind for them because you're constantly opening doors for them, right? They're top of mind for you. And
that's Big Nate.
What up, Nate?
He doesn't know how to play fantasy football, Big Nate.
Don't worry, Nate. Somebody got to wear the fucking tutu when they lose. But dude, yeah, man, at the end of the day, man, life revolves. I mean, Zig Ziglar said it best. You help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And that's the entire philosophy of everything we're doing. And, when you build a culture of GSDs, these get shit done people that are proactively growing their companies and doing the shit, life is good. Life is really, really good. Shaking my head.
Yep. Now, I wanted to kind of, folks, this is definitely one of those shows that I'm going to try to keep it under 4 hours, but Donnie and I are kind of people that you're into my wheelhouse, and I love to talk about people, what they do and what makes them great. But we've brought up the term salesperson, and I understand Hollywood has changed your mind that a salesperson wears a seersucker suit, a shiny shirt, hair slicked back, shoes that cost more than your car does, at least one tooth has a bling to it, all the other shit that Hollywood has told you that a salesperson is. Your dad was a salesperson. Your mom was a salesperson. Your neighbor was a salesperson. All a salesperson means is somebody that has a goods or service that they think you would benefit from. Guess what? You all with an Amazon account, you've been sold on the idea that Amazon is a better deal from a salesperson. Whether it was your neighbor who told you I have an Amazon account and this was a great idea and it benefits me, they are a salesperson and they sold you on the idea of having an Amazon account.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, Sales is nothing more than a conversation, right? It's a conversation that typically happens between two people that naturally has a fucking outcome. Ha, Rich. He's a good fucking dude.
We just connected.
Nice. But I mean, at the end of the day, people get so hung up over this idea of got to sell something. Man, if sales is done right, you don't have to overcome objections. You don't have to fucking do these hard close shit. You just go have real conversations. I mean, for me, when you have a proper sales call, you sit across from a motherfucker, and by the time you get to the end, they're like, fucking, oh my God, this was the most killer conversation I've ever have. How do I get more of what you do? Or how do I get involved in your world? What's it look like? They're asking you how to move forward. Right? Not this stupid shit that has been taught nowadays of, well, you got to get one over on them. My money's in their pocket. The fucking stupid ass Grant Cardone shit. That guy's a fucking idiot.
I don't even know who that is.
You don't, no worries. But it's the idea of going and having genuine, real conversations with motherfuckers that really gets to the heart of the matter. Back when I was doing sales training, I'd take these young bucks along on sales calls. And on the way to the sales call, just be you. That's it, Herb. Just be you. On the way to these sales calls, I'd be talking to these young guys, girls, and they would be in fun, loose, having a great conversation, talking about family. Then we'd pull up to the building we're going in, and it's like they do this Jekyll and Hyde, right? Yep, totally. They would just get stoic. And I would, being a sales trainer, I would go along as the sales guy in training. That's how I snuck into a sales call. So I'd go help them actually coach later. And they'd be in their sales call and they'd be completely bombing it, right? And I'm not going to bail them out because they need the experience of fucking it up, right? And they would look at me and go, Donnie, what you think? And I'm like, I'm just a sales guy in training. I don't know anything here, right? And we get in the car and they were like, why the fuck didn't you bail me out? I'm like, you don't learn anything from me bailing you out. But I'm like, what the hell happened? On the way to the call, we were fun, jovial, and everything else. As soon as we get out of the fucking car, you became this shyster fucking greaseball salesperson. Dude, people buy from fucking people, right? You're not talking about this transaction. You're talking about lifetime value. How can you keep these people around for fucking years? I mean, my clients end up becoming family fucking friends that we do fishing trips together, hunting trips together. This isn't about getting their money. This is about creating such a strong relationship that they want to stick around with you forever. I've been in weddings of clients, I mean, it's you need to pour into these people, but most people are so inundated with the commission. I heard somebody coin this phrase that I fucking love. They got such commission breath. Right. Right. That they just fumble the fuck over all their words. And they're trying so hard not to be a greaseball salesperson that all they do is come across like a greaseball salesperson.
It's funny. Now I told you my old man was the greatest salesperson I ever knew. And I told you I was formally trained. And I'm curious of your feelings on this. Now, I was formally trained. You're not going to hurt my feelings. My father passed away a couple years ago. He won't hear this. My father always used to say to me, you can sell anything to anyone as long as they think they're getting a deal. Doesn't matter what you're presenting to them. And if you go back and think about anything you've ever done, I talked to Brian about this. If you think about anything you've ever bought a day in your life, if Donnie bought a truck and I bought a truck, now I'm going to buy American. I'm buying Nissan. He's probably buying a Ford. You have to go back and research that. It's a research joke. But the reality of it is, if we had the same vehicle, if I said, hey, I paid $40,000 for my truck, and Donnie said, well, I paid $39,000. You know what the first words out of my mouth are going to be? When I bought mine, it was the best deal I could get. If Donnie bought something and I bought something, the first time you buy it, the first words out of your mouth are, well, it was the best deal.
God rest your father. Yeah. God rest your father. I'm gonna 100% disagree with them.
See, now you just, and I'm curious because you have a very, and the reason I bring that up is you have a very different sales approach.
Yep.
The old man used to make it.
So my question would be, what's the name of the last guy who sold you a car?
Rob Gage.
Cool. Very few people can tell you that. Why? Because they got transactionally sold to.
They got the deal. It was about the deal.
Right. So yes, you can sell to somebody anything, right? You can, if they feel like the deal. I agree with that philosophy. Where I disagree is you don't go back.
What do you mean?
Because if you don't find that connection with that person, because at some point you're going to have the conversation with somebody and be like, okay, I paid $39,000 for that. The other person's going to go, I paid $36,000 for that. My thought process is, fuck, I lost $3 fucking grand.
Right.
Buyer's remorse. Thank you, Tim. 100%. And when you get to that point, I'm never going back to that sales guy because I just got fucked out of $3 grand.
And you want to know who my sales guy was?
Likely, yes.
That's what I'm saying. So you want to know who my sales guy was.
Right. But the trick is, if both sales guys fucking came to the table and actually said, here's the truth, here's what we're at, this is what you need. I mean, I've got a buddy that's got almost 500,000, following YouTube channel that teaches people not how to get scanned by fucking car salesmen. Right.
Which guy is it? Which guy?
Kevin Hunter. Look him up. Kevin Hunter.
Is he the one that always has the young lady with him?
Yes.
Oh, I know who that is. I've watched
Kevin's
him.
Good dude.
Very good.
Right. So, but at the end of the day, he wouldn't have a show if people were authentic, upfront, and fucking real. Right. So at the end of the day, it's not about getting the deal. I want you to buy the first car from me, the second car from me, the third car from me, the fourth. I want to be able to sell your kids their cars, their grandkids their cars. I want to provide you so much fucking value that the lifetime value of you is generations.
Nice.
And if I get the deal at the moment, I lose the generations. Because inevitably that sale is built on fucking quicksand. Because somebody's going to always come along with a better fucking deal.
Interesting. It's definitely a different approach from, cutting the deal, being done with it. And like Herb said, it's about the relationship. Those are definitely, I love the difference in approaches. And I hope as we're doing this, folks, and I love that Donnie's on here, and I'm telling everyone, check out SuccessChampionsNetwork.com. Look and see what it is. There's 46 chapters across the U.S. There's an A chapter now. That's the Canadian one. It's just the A chapter. We're just going to call them the A chapter. But,
Matt's going to love that.
Yeah, let Matt know. So, A. Or you can call it the Strange Brew chapter.
Yeah, right.
But it's definitely a difference in approach. Whether it's, and I guess, I was brought up on that. Making sure people know they're getting the best deal. I was brought up on that mentality, and it's just very, very different. And Herb's absolutely right. It works with podcasts also. Hey, are you building a relationship? That's why I love StreamYard. I've tried the other stuff out there. That's why I love StreamYard is, we're sitting here, Donnie and I, and we're having a conversation. But those of you that are with us right now, you're part of the conversation. You're part of the interaction. For those of you that listen to this on the podcast version of it, I thank you. I love you all because that's the time that you have with us. Please make sure you're making comments on everything, and I'll always answer your comments. But StreamYard's great because it builds that relationship. And yes, Herb, if it wasn't for Herb, I wouldn't be on StreamYard. The background that you're seeing, if you're watching the StreamYard, Herb built that for me. The little pieces at the bottom, that's all Herb. You see the Earplug Podcast Network. And I'm going to say it, and he may not like it. We all love you, Podfather, and we want you to get healthy and get back in the studio so we can have more shows with you. Tim, one of my bosses once said, Tim, I want you to go out today on your first day of sales, but I don't want you to sell. I want you to go make friends. What a difference. What do you
So
think
we're getting Sean hooked on phonics so he can learn how to fucking
Yeah, I
read.
fucking reading is look, I got that Baltimore education. I can shoot a motherfucker with a gun sideways.
Wait.
I can't say shit.
I think we just showed our age with the hooked on phonics, by the way.
Oh God, that might be it. Well, Baltimore used to have billboards all over the place. Baltimore, the city that reads.
Oh
God,
not well.
No, not at all.
Shouldn't Baltimore be the city that riots?
No, it used to be. So I used to have, this is a no shitter. And do you know the difference between a C story and a no shitter?
No.
So this is a great Marine one for you. So a C story probably has a bunch of lies in it. So if somebody tells you, hey, I got a C story to tell you, guarantee you the fish wasn't that big and the story wasn't that impressive. And she definitely wasn't a 10. But a no shitter, they're not lying to you and they want you to believe every word of it. Hey, this is a no shitter.
Well, she probably wasn't a 10. She was a 2 at 10. She just happened to be a 10 at 2.
Yeah, this is definitely true. But, so when I was when I used to live in Baltimore, I actually used to have a T-shirt that had a 357 Magnum on it. And you couldn't wear this shirt today. Nobody's going to buy this shirt today. And it said, Baltimore, the city that bleeds.
Oh.
Look, I live in Albany, New York, and I love living in Albany. I feel safe. My children are safe. It's a beautiful city. I don't like all of our rules, but it's a beautiful city. They had, God, we're going to make a right turn here for a second. They had 17 homicides, and they're losing their shit up here. I lived in Baltimore. They're like 300 plus.
Right.
And they're like,
Baltimore, if you've never been, is got beautiful. A great little area called the Inner Harbor. As you stay right there, life is good, man. You go a block outside the Inner Harbor, you're taking a hard turn to places you don't want to be.
Yeah, no, it's a different animal.
Yeah.
You will find some of the best you know what's all right, we're into it. You know what's one of the most amazing restaurants you'll ever go to in Baltimore, and it's a food source that you were going to be like, really, Baltimore? Spanish. Tio Pepe's in Baltimore.
I don't do Tio. I didn't do. So we found on the harbor itself. So you guys just listen to us geek out on food a second.
Fat kid geeking out.
But on the harbor, literally on the water, there's this oyster house, and you got to have reservations to get into it. Okay. If I could text my wife, she'd tell me the name of it. But it's the first time I've ever sat in a restaurant and they brought you an oyster menu.
Yes.
And dude, I didn't realize that oysters had like different flavors. And
completely.
Dude.
Completely.
I spent so much money that night trying every fucking different oyster I could get my hands on. I was buying.
Did you have Rockefeller?
Dude, they brought it out like a wine tasting or a whiskey tasting and all these different things, and it was fucking amazing. But it's a little dive bar. It's 2 stories, just a seafood place. The other thing that I found in Baltimore, only bar I've ever been in that is dedicated to Grand Marnier. We call it Grandma.
Really?
Yep. There's a bar there that you can literally buy a bottle of Grand Marnier. We call it Grandma.
Yep. Grandma.
And they'll put it on the fucking shelf for you. So every time you come to Baltimore, that's your bottle.
So there's a bar in Baltimore. God, I can tell you it's in Fells Point.
Yeah, Fells Point's where this oyster bar is.
It's on the corner. Actually, Fells Point's also, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Food with fucking 2 fat guys. But that's also, so I can't think of the name of the bar right now, but it's on the corner in Fells Point. And Fells Point's an interesting place that if you go there during the day and the Fells Point Bakery is open, it's amazing. The smell of fresh baked bread is amazing. But then there's a bar on the corner. I can see it, but it was the only place I've ever been to that all their liquor bottles are on tap to include like schnapps, like 99 bananas.
Oh, wow.
And then you have High Tops, which is on the other corner, which is in the square. But then you have the Bop, which is brick oven pizza. And the Bop actually makes a dessert pizza, which is amazing. But here's an even crazier one. Do you remember the TV show Homicide: Life on the Streets?
No.
So was it a TV show back in the 90s, early 2000s, where they were all about, crime in Baltimore. And I still will always stand by that. Homicide: Life on the Streets and the show The Wire and The Corner are why my city is all jacked up like it is, only because they felt like they needed to live up to the image.
Right.
I thoroughly believe that. Like, people are like, hey, TV says we're fucked up, so we might as well just be fucked up then, because it wasn't like that as a kid. But across that was Bertha's Mussels. Do you like mussels?
I do.
There's a bar called Bertha's Mussels. That's all they serve is beer and Bertha's Mussels. And you get a T-shirt that says, eat Bertha's Mussels.
That's awesome.
And in the TV show Homicide: Life on the Streets, one of the characters buys a bar. He buys Bertha's Mussels.
Oh, no shit.
And if you go to Baltimore, at the end of the block, they used to show this, the police headquarters, the station they were in. It's actually one of the firehouses at the end of the block in Fells Point.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
If we're going to go that route, let's go another hard fucking turn. So have you ever seen the show Walker, Texas Ranger?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
The original one, not the new one.
Not the original one. The original one with fucking Chuck Norris. So that's filmed at a bar called the White Elephant Saloon in the Stockyards. Okay. One of my early jobs when I came back from Texas from selling franchises in St. Louis was I was the door guy at White Elephant Saloon CDs.
Like a bouncer.
Yep. So we always had to answer the questions about the show and everything. It was kind of fun. There's a country singer named Cody Jinks, and he's got the song I'm Not the Devil You Think That I Am. And he's one of the first independent artists that never went to label that hit number one on all the charts. It's really, really fucking cool. But Cody taught me how to wait tables at a Bennigan restaurant. And then he was he was bartending at the White Elephant Saloon when I was a door guy. And one of the freaking singers didn't show up that night. And Jason, who was the manager, is like, fuck, what I'm going to do. And Cody's like, I got my guitar in the truck. And, Nikki, who's another friend of mine, she's like, well, go get your guitar. Motherfucker sat on a bar stool and played acoustic all night.
In a Bennigan's?
No. This was at the White Elephant. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought this was at a Bennigan.
Yeah,
so,
no.
Wow.
And that's how he got. And after that set, a guy who owned Longhorns down the road heard Cody playing that night. And after the set, Cody looked at Jason and said, hey, could I get an actual gig here one night? And Jason's like, yeah, you're not good enough. The owner of Longhorns heard that and said, come play at my place. I'll put you on a stool. And that's how Cody got his first entry into freaking singing country singing. And now he's one of the biggest names in the world, are up and coming in that world, so cool. Doing that. But have you seen Yellowstone, that show?
I know the show.
Okay.
It's on my list of like, I still
gotta watch it. If you want a man crush on anybody, Rip, you will fucking fall in love with.
No.
I would.
Is that Don Johnson? Is that Don Johnson's character?
No. It's the dude from Dazed and Confused.
Which one?
So the asshole that chases them all around with the paddle, beating the shit out of plays Rip.
Now I have to. Do you know how many shows I fucking watch?
Yeah, but dude, here's the really cool thing where this all comes from. 1886 is going to be the prequel to Yellowstone, and Sam, who's the motherfucker from Roadhouse?
Oh, I know you're talking about. I don't know his name though.
Sam Elliott. Yeah, Sam Elliott. Is going to be in this prequel, and so is Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. They just filmed a good portion of it here in the Fort Worth Stockyards because it's an Old West town.
Oh.
So everything.
You're in Fort Worth.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. It's Fort Worth. And so they
I'm going to get Donnie's address, and we're all going to send him crayons to eat.
Look here, motherfucker! You better be sending bottles. But yeah. So my old stomping grounds, they literally came in and brought in like hundreds loads of dump trucks and turned this back into an old dirt roads and everything, because it's the only place in the U.S. that has a downtown area that's still set up like an old Western town. You got hitching posts. Yeah, it's a really cool tourist trap.
See, that's going on here in the Albany area. So Troy, New York, you know, Uncle Sam.
Yep.
That's Troy, New York.
Oh, so, like the actual dude came from there?
The real Uncle Sam is from Troy, New York. He's buried here in Troy, New York. Which is, it's a very interesting area. So HBO just finished filming some Victorian show, because they do the Victorian stroll down here and all kinds of stuff. So HBO just finished filming something down in this area. And it's interesting, you know, there's another example for you, Debs, or whoever's still listening. Find out what's going on in your community and see how you can tie into it.
Yeah.
Because people want to do those things. Yep. People want to be part of those things. You know, Donnie and I, you know, look, Donnie and I are guys that you're going to drop us into somewhere with 50 cents in our pocket and a pen and a piece of paper. I'm going to get a fucking job.
Right.
I'm going to make money.
Yeah, dude. Anybody ever tells me they're looking for a job drives me fucking nuts. Everybody's hiring for fucking sales. Right. I don't give a shit.
Everybody. And it's funny is because, you know, to kind of, we're going to get ready to close up the bar here in a minute. Donnie's got like a goat to milk or some shit. And
well, I'm glad you got the milk, because it didn't sound like you were saying milk for a second.
Well, I used to know a master sergeant that had a bunch of goats, and he would do goat milk cheese.
Goat cheese, yep.
Dude, have you ever had goat milk cheesecake?
Oh, I don't know if I've had that. But we do a lot of goat cheese and stuff, but
bro, listen to me. It will fucking change your life. This dude used to sell cheesecakes that were only like this, like 6-inch cheesecakes, and they were made with goat milk at like $10 a pop, and he was doing it on base. That was even better. He was doing it on
a mint.
Oh, he was selling out every time, like, and it was like a crack deal. People would be like, "Hey, Master Gun, you got that cheesecake? Master Gun, you got that cheesecake, right?" But you know, we're guys that are gonna make this happen. We're always gonna find it. But I want everyone to take a moment, look up Growth Mode Podcast. What days does that come out there, Donnie?
So new episode comes out every Thursday.
So every Thursday, so tomorrow.
Yep. So, and it's me and Kevin Snows, my chief operations officer, and we talk everything: sales, business development, growing and scaling your business. And you know, we just upgraded the format of the show, so we'll always throw a topic out there. So every episode we start off with a story that relates to the topic, you know, whatever we're talking about, and then we put a post out in our Facebook group, private Facebook group for all the members of Success Champions Networking, and we ask them, you know, what is your questions regarding this topic? And we then read that topic live on the air, giving them some exposure, and then Kevin and I answer it. And we always
finish
this week's
up. Question? What's this week's question?
So hold on, I'll tell you.
So remember, it's adding members to your podcast, right?
Well, we always record, you know, a few weeks before, so. Tomorrow is setting traps for your health, traps for yourself. So one thing that I learned is a lot of people need to be held accountable to make sure they get shit done. So a trap is something that you put out there to the world and let them know you're going to do something. So we talk very specifically what it looks like to say you're going to do something and let the world hold you accountable. So like, launch a new course for your company, or you'll do 100 days of Facebook Lives. You know, I've had somebody recently said, I will, you know, bring on 10 new clients by a certain date, or I'll shut down my company. Right. It's extremes, because a lot of people aren't self-motivated. They're not money motivated. They're not, you know, overly driven. So you've got to set a massive fucking freak out, because
you're okay with that. You're okay with that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You're okay with somebody saying, hey, I've got by, you know, June 1st 10 new clients or I'm shutting this whole fucking thing down. You don't think that that's too extreme?
Nope. And here's why. The people that are setting those type of things have spent their entire lifetime with good enough. They spent the entire journey of this world being okay with being okay. If you're that person that has only gotten so far in life because you've always gotten just okay with it, just good enough, whatever, you've got to do something so extreme. So the fear of her shutting down her business scares the fuck out of her more versus doing all the new business development reach outs and everything. So, and when she tells other people that she's going to do this or shut down her business, it's such an extreme amount of fucking accountability that you can't help but do the things you need to do. And the way I learned this was a guy once upon a time looked at his daughter and said, if I close one deal a week for the next year, I'll take you to Disney World. And every Friday, his daughter would look at him and go, Dad, did you close a deal? Yes, I did, honey. I closed a deal this week. 1 week, he looked at his daughter and said, honey, I'm sorry. I didn't get a deal done this week. And she melted, right? Completely cried, freaked out. And he said, honey, hold on. And he went and crammed the phones, did everything else, and sold a deal. And he never missed anything more. So the idea of traps is setting something that's such a scary accountability.
I don't know if I could do that.
Oh, dude.
I really don't know if I could do that. And I know I'm good at what I do.
Well, let me ask you. Are you motivated by fear and success? And there's an easy test to figure that out.
What's the test?
Okay. When you close a deal, you bring on a new client, is the first thought process, one of two answers. First thought process, do you want to instantly go get a deal, or do you go, that's done?
I don't, if I give you an answer that says, you'll have to determine my answer for me. When I close a deal, I dance.
Okay. What's the next action?
I go and try to find them somebody to fill that place. Like, so for me with staffing, so the minute I close a deal, I actually will stand in my office.
Different question.
And I shake my shoulders, and then I go, now I got to go find them a person.
Cool. What motivates you more, looking at your bank account or looking at your investment portfolio?
Bank account.
Okay. You're motivated more by fear. So
now tell me how that works. Because we're the bar's staying open, motherfuckers. Because I'm curious. Help me out here.
So here's the real thing: the people that go, the deal's done, and go work on it, that type of thing, they are energized more by desperation. Like if you looked at next month and you had no business coming in, you'd be like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go find a shit ton of business."
Mm-hmm.
But if you looked at next month and you're like, wow, I got a bunch of shit going on, odds are you're not going to push yourself as hard as you could.
You're absolutely right.
Okay. So the people that are motivated by success are always what's next? What's the next deal? What's the next deal? So I got a young guy that I trained years ago, the greatest salesman I've ever met in my life.
Me?
No, the real one. And this dude, but this kid, we do kickboxing together.
Okay.
And we were sitting in the parking lot and we both screwed up. They changed the time when practice was. And so we both got there about a half hour early. And I said, cool, I'm going to go do some work on the truck. He goes, cool, I'm going to go do some cold calling. Right. This kid is fucking hungry.
I love him.
And literally just really to brag about him. His name's Austin. Went to work for a commercial label company selling labels, commercial box company selling boxes. They had 8 salespeople when he came on board. He's now the only salesperson. He outsold all 8 people combined. So it's him and the president of the company are the only salespeople in his company now. It's ridiculous. He's fucking beast. But he is always, and he's like, look, I'm going to work Monday through Friday. And this motherfucker works so hard that he doesn't work past 5 o'clock and he doesn't work weekends and is selling millions upon millions of dollars because he's so,
in boxes.
in boxes. It's ridiculous. Printing money for himself at this point. But it's because he's never going to go hungry.
I love
And his
it.
biggest fear is ever to go hungry. So when people are motivated by this big success, they'll constantly go after, they'll constantly churn, they'll constantly try and do it. But most of us are motivated by fear. So when you're motivated by fear, you're the person that, well, I'll just figure it out, right? It'll never get that bad. If it gets that bad, I'll fucking bail myself out. And knowing that that's how most people are intrinsically wired, these fucking big risks will fucking catapult you as long as you own up to it.
Interesting. Now Donnie, I don't normally say I like you, but I like you right now.
Dude, so tomorrow's episode, setting traps for yourself.
Yes,
Growth Mode Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, listen to Kevin and I dive into, and we're going to tell some of the stories and some of the successes of we've had with people setting these traps.
Yeah, make sure you check that out, folks. But check mine out first, but you check Donnie out afterwards.
I mean, if you want to listen to a little tiny show, I mean, I'm kidding.
Look at this little guy right here. It's just a little show right here. But it's, I mean, folks, we're gonna get ready to pull the sign down on this thing. Donnie's over there drinking cheap Texas whiskey.
That ain't true. I'm drinking $100 rum. So,
woo! What's your rum?
So I typically like Captain Morgan, but for my birthday, my wife bought me two things. One, if you've never smoked infused your drinks, she bought me this. Oh, so you get a device so that you put these flavored like chips in.
Really?
And you literally light them and it smokes down through your glass. It's fucking insane. So you can take a bad whiskey and turn it into a good whiskey really quick. So for our 15th wedding anniversary this year, she bought me a freaking $100 bottle of rum and this freaking smoke infuser. So I'll sit down there. Oh, and you're like a kid in a candy store lighting this fucking thing up, watch the smoke just go through your glass and just sit.
Best rum I've ever had is a brand called Tartuga.
Tartuga is really, really good.
That's the best rum I've ever had was Tartuga, and it was a white rum.
I'm not big on white rum, but there is, it's a black bottle with Bumbu. Bumbu is one of my favorites.
Never heard of that one.
Really good rum. But yeah, I'm a rum drinker.
Well, I'll look for your rum if we have it here. If you can find me a bottle of Heaven's Hill bourbon.
Heaven's Hill bourbon.
Heaven's Hill blue
I
label.
can find you like Buffalo Trace and shit all day long.
That's hard to find right now.
Not here.
It's funny that you can find it because I was just actually here. I'll tell you how big the liquor store up here is. You know the people who have the TV show for the fish tanks.
Yeah,
they've got like 4 or 5 of their fish tanks in this liquor store. So I'll tell you, how massive this store is. And I was in there the other day, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm looking for a bottle of Heaven's Hill." The guy goes, "We only get certain allocations for it. I haven't gotten it in a while. It's a blue label. It's not expensive. It's probably about $35, $40 a bottle, brother. If it's a bourbon, like Buffalo Trace is great. I saw a bottle of Buffalo Trace the other day, $6,000 bottle.
That's so stupid, dude. I can buy Buffalo Trace around here, $40 to $60 a bottle all day long.
Like a special, like whatever. But when I see those, and I had one of my sons with me. I was like, "Look at that." He goes, "Dad, that's $6,000." I said, "That's a."
So I can walk up and get a 7-year-old Heaven Hill bourbon up the street for $40,
dude. I would recommend it to you. Blue label. I will recommend.
Yeah, it's a blue label right now. I'm looking at
Absolutely. It. I will recommend that to you. If you're not a bourbon drinker, I will recommend that bourbon to you. Heaven's Hill blue label. I will highly, highly recommend. But I'm in New York.
Right.
It's distance wise, it's a whole thing. But look, we're gonna get ready to pull the close sign here on the Above the Bar podcast. Donnie, brother, we've known each other for a couple of months. I would actually probably put you out with gasoline. I really appreciate. I'm kidding.
Hey, let me do one quick thing for you.
Yes, please.
Seriously, guys, if you've hung out with us this long, you're still listening to the show, and you've got any value out of this, do Sean the greatest favor. And I mean, I really mean this. Fucking tell one other person about his show. Being a fellow podcaster, there's nothing more cool than when somebody says, hey, I shared your show with a friend, and they fucking love it, and they subscribe, and they join in. You know, he's got a cool message, a cool platform, a genuine fucking good dude. Help him grow this fucking thing, because the only way his message reaches others is if you tell other people about his fucking show. So do him the honor of telling at least one person to tune in and check this shit out.
Brother, thank you for that.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going to flip it. Make sure you go and you check out Growth Mode Podcast on all the major platforms. I'm going to check out, I actually wrote it down. I know you told me about it before, the Captivate.fm.
Oh, I've got an affiliate link for them if you really, I mean,
yeah, I'm you and I.
And actually, the CEO of Captivate is coming into Success Champions Networking on the 27th of January to teach a podcasting workshop.
Well, then 27th of January.
Yep.
Make sure I got the link. We'll have to. I'll have to sit down because this is someday I would love to retire and just do this all day long.
Right.
I'm good at running my face. But make sure you check out Growth Mode Podcast. Look around. If you're interested in Success Champions Network, reach out to me, reach out to Donnie. We're on every social media platform that you could ever imagine. Reach out to us. There's probably a chapter in your, if there's not a chapter in your area, we'll find somewhere that you can get tagged in. Up in Albany, we're the elite, Empire Elite chapter. We would love to have you join us up here in Albany. But Donnie, where else can they find you?
Dude, if they want to get in touch with me specifically, if they text the word success to 817-318-6030, I'll send them a whole bunch of free training stuff, but it'll also send them all the links to everything that I have. So text the word success to 817-318-6030, and we'll send you a whole bunch of free stuff to help you get better in sales or grow and scale your business. So, and that'll get you into everything we do.
So that was 817-630.
Nope. 817-318. 6030 and text the word success.
All right. 817-318-6030 and text the word success. Donnie will personally send you pictures that, you know, amazing.
Yeah, those two. You're going to get my fans only page.
His fans only Folks, make sure you send that over to Donnie so you can get yourself set up. If you're interested in anything from the Above the Bar podcast, you can go get you a personal sweater made. And we've got a bunch of new stuff on TeePublic. I found Joe Byron. Have you seen Joe Byron?
No.
You have to look that one up. Joe Byron. Right. Take me out to dinner, Joe Byron. But we've got all kinds of shirts now on the Above the Bar podcast on TeePublic. If you want to send us a message, the Above the Bar podcast on Instagram. Our Facebook is the Above the Bar podcast. Our Twitch is the Above the Bar podcast. Our email is the Above the Bar podcast at gmail.com. And as I always say, the only one that's a little bit goofed up is our Twitter is at the Above the Bar podcast 4. Donnie, we're going to get ready to close the bar here. And as I always say, do not log off. You and I got to talk for a moment. You know, that's one of the nice things coming on here. You get a little after hours talk. But as I always say, the guest gets the last word. So what's the last word there, Donnie?
Freaking do something every day that scares the pure living shit out of you. I promise you, if you want to grow, go straight at the thing that freaks you out. Because it's not about overcoming that fear. It's about who you become going straight through the fucking thing.
All righty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation, found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.